welcome back to another video, and hello, I'm Courtney, the Incessant Bookworm. If you haven't already watched it, I suggest watching my reading vlog for The Hobbit, which is my first experience reading to completion the books in the Lord of the Rings series, I guess the prequel in this case, and hear what my plans are to continue the series, both film and books, in the future. Also, feel free to follow me over on all my social media channels, which are listed below, including the new, for me, TikTok channel, as well as my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, where I post a lot more bookish content more than once a week than here on my YouTube channel. Alright, so today I am going to go over some of my most beautiful books, stunning books, based off the graphics and the cover design. So I guess a little caveat to that is it's dependent on the edition, on whether it was published or printed in the US versus other countries. So I will say that, and it's interesting. I did a post a few years ago when it was, I think it was the Winter Olympics, where it was called like the Winter Olympics of books, where I did comparisons of books, the same book printed in one country versus the other, and you kind of voted to see which country won when it came to the design or the cover art. So I thought that was kind of fun, but I guess in the spirit of the Olympics, but not really. And then also I did the mid-year freak out book tag not too long ago, and one of the prompts was the most beautiful book you added this year. And I thought, okay, maybe I can take a look at the ones I already own and see, one, have I read them yet? And two, am I still intrigued or mesmerized by the cover when I see it now versus when I saw it the first time? So we're gonna go into it that way. So I will show these as much as I can and put it up to the camera so you can get the full effect, but feel free to look up these books in the Storygraph or Readerly or whatever platform you use for looking up books. The first book we have is Unsheltered by Barbara Kingsolver. As you can see, I really love, and you'll be able to tell with a lot of these books, a theme here, the minimalist covers, where there's just one focus point and then just a lot of negative space and negative color. So here it's just a lot of white space with a flower and nature. So yeah, so this book I had received through a book and coffee subscription box my brother and sister got me when I had my birthday last year, and it was a 2-box or 2-month subscription where it came with 2 books and a bag of coffee beans. So this was one of them. I can't remember if it was November or December, but I loved seeing it, just how beautiful it was when I first picked it up. This talks about 2 different families that live in the same house or the same area in New Jersey, which I'm from New Jersey, already intrigued by that. And they're, I think, about 2 centuries or 2 decades apart. Probably 2 centuries. 2 decades is not a long time for these 2 families that seem to be down on their luck, and that it's the end of the world as they know it, based off the tragedies and the unfortunate circumstances that happened to them. So there's that. So this we have The Tea Rose by Jennifer Donnelly, and this I just think looks like a work of art. So I was an art history student back in the day, and even though I don't do that full-time right now, I still appreciate the beauty of art and what looks to be like a canvas or a beautiful photograph. So this I thought was beautiful with the perspective and the focus and how it's not exactly centered. So this is about 2 folks, mainly the woman in 1888 London, I believe, who works at a tea factory and hopes to own a tea shop one day, and then tragedy strikes where she has to move to New York and kind of start over again with this dream, and also a lot of ghosts and not dirty laundry, but things coming up from her past that's going to affect her. Then we have The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton, and this I'd seen so many places, but this I also love the minimalist and also geometric design of it, where we have the different phases of the moon, which is also including the face of a woman, and yeah, just really evocative and just draws you in immediately. So this, I believe it's also a TV series, I want to say. Clearly I haven't watched it because I don't know if that's true or not, but this kind of chronicles a New Zealand story. So I originally had picked this up for my Read Around the World challenge, but it's a pretty thick book, so I actually put it down for later in life, and now I want to pick it back up again because it just looks so inviting. But it's about New Zealand, and I think it's like a gold rush kind of story, but also a ghost story and lore and something about the zodiac in there. So very interesting. Then we have A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown, and this is a young adult sci-fi series that has a lot of roots in African culture and history, which I thought was really great. And then also the design of this cover is very shimmery. It also is like a stunning black woman in beautiful costume and garb, and really just draws you in. So this I read, I feel like this was my back to school reading challenge pick for like science fiction, or like the sciences, I believe. And the prompt was like a book about science fiction or fantasy. So this I picked up during the time where a lot of Black authors and Black bookstores were getting a lot of attention because of all the racial injustice and like a lot of tension in the United States, which is still kind of a thing and still happening, but it really took a toll on the US last year. So this, I wanted to support some Black authors, Black bookstores, and I also wanted to dive more into sci-fi and fantasy since that was an escapist experience during the pandemic. So a lot of emotions going on there when I purchased this book, but this talks a lot about fantasy, magic, lore, and these two young folks who have very different motivations and end up forming a relationship or friendship, but at what cost, because they have to kind of deceive one another in order to get what they want and to protect the ones that they love. So that I thought was brilliant. And this is one in, I think, a duology. Then we have Longbourn by Joe Baker. Again, I love the minimalist style here. The attention is drawn to 1/3 of the book. And I remember when I was in school for art, the rule of thirds was very important. So that just is very intriguing, and the subject is set very much apart from the neutral or the single colored background here. So yeah, this I've heard a lot of different opinions about. So this is the story of the help, or like the servants and the servers at the Longbourn house in Pride and Prejudice, and during that time. So what their experience was like, kind of like the upstairs downstairs feel of like Downton Abbey, but just the downstairs, quote unquote downstairs. So that I thought would be kind of interesting, since Pride and Prejudice and like the time of Jane Austen is one of my favorites to read about. So we shall see. Then we have London by Edward Rutherfurd, and this I was drawn to immediately. One, because it's London, and two, the thickness of it was another win for me. But I just love the use of text and font and copy on the front of this cover, with a very minimal subject at the bottom here. Like I know what London is. I don't think I need to have a picture of Big Ben or the London Eye or the London Bridge or anything like that to know. But this is a fiction book, but it also just wants me to learn more about, okay, is this, initially I didn't know if this was a nonfiction or fiction read. So this is basically the story of the city of London told in like this saga kind of experience in a fictional like character's world. So that I thought would be really cool, since like London is one of my favorite cities. I hope to one day live there or spend a great amount of time there. I've been there twice, soon to be 3 times, hopefully in April when I run the London Landmarks Half Marathon. But I just love the city so much and can't wait to read more about it. And finally we have Juliet by Anne Fortier, and this I just thought was stunning because of the big bold rose and like the color, and how there's a lot of rich reds and some dark shadows in there, and then also cut above with an Italian city, I'm assuming. So that I thought was really elegant and exquisite. So this kind of goes through 2 different stories. One is present day Julie is saddened by the death of her aunt, and then is left a key to kind of learn more about the history of her family, and learns that one of her ancestors was Julieta from Romeo and Juliet, and she learns kind of what that was all about and like how it affected different people. So who knows, maybe it will tap into a different type of Romeo and Juliet story where they both don't die in the end. Who knows? Or maybe it's just there's a lot more that happens than just them dying and falling in love and dying. So we'll see about that. Okay, so those are some of the most beautiful, stunning books that I have on my shelf, and now that I'm looking through them, I'm excited that I picked them up again, because they're ones that haven't really gotten a lot of time to shine in like the book world and on like bookstore shelves, even on my shelf. Like I need to see them more because they're so beautiful, and the stories, reading the synopsis and like reminding myself what they're about makes me want to read them again. So that's what I like, that they are ones that may not have been like popular on Bookstagram or Book Talk, but can have the potential of being like absolutely fantastic and phenomenal reads. So I think all of them were fiction with like some historical fiction elements thrown in there, some sci-fi, fantasy, and then some contemporary fiction in there. So a good range, but yeah, I think there's other ones on my shelves too. I do feel like I saw a theme of like what attracts me to a book. I think I did a post about this on my blog about what makes me pick up a book, and covers honestly do make me at least look at the synopsis. It's not the one like, because this book cover is stunning, I have to get it. Like it needs to match. Like initially that's what I'm drawn to, is the style of the cover art and the jacket, but after that I need to look at the synopsis. So it's kind of like when you're attracted to a person physically, there's got to be some more there, at least for me, to want to dig deeper into. So there's that as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up or comment down below some of your favorites that you saw me show today. Any other books that you think are stunning, please link to below and I'll check them out. And yeah, I just love looking at books. It's one of the reasons I have my own shelves, my own library. Right now I can just see the spines, but I need to be able to turn them and look at them a little bit differently, so maybe that's another project for another day. But yeah, feel free to subscribe, feel free to hit the notification bell so you know when I post next. I usually post on Mondays, and I hope to talk to you again soon. So until then, have a great day and happy reading.